Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Our lecture today is about national guidelines on product registration and distribution. Um, in this lecture, we'll discuss several points, including the role of the authority that is having the role of drug control in Malaysia, and the legislation controlling registration and sale of drugs and cosmetics in Malaysia. We will describe product classification and explain describe every class of these products. We'll talk about the drug registration process, including um, product registration holder, the online system that is used for drug registration application, the required documents, um, coding of drugs, what is called MAL code, and registration of cosmetics, which is based on notification, not on registration. And we'll talk about post-marketing activities for cosmetics and for drug products. So the reference is for when it comes to or with regards to drug registration is the drug registration guidance document issued by National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Authority, abbreviated as NPRA, or in Malay we call it Bahagian Regulatory Pharmacy Negara. This is a division under the Ministry of Health. The most recent document was issued in July 2022. This is the third revision. Okay. So whenever you want to get more information in details about drug registration, then you can refer back to this document. Actually, there are different rules that has been issued or approved in Malaysia since 1952 to control the sales of drugs, other aspects like promotion, registration of drugs and cosmetics, and so on. So this drug registration guidance document is based on these regulations, which include the Sale of Drugs Act in 1952, Control of Drugs and Cosmetics Regulations in 1984, Dangerous Drug Act in 1952, Poisons Act 1952, Medicines Advertisement and Sale Act in 1956, Wildlife Conservation Act in 2010, and International Trade and in Endangered Species Act in 2008. All these form basis for the regulations or instructions given in this drug registration document. Okay. When it comes to the type of documents that should be submitted as part of application for registration process, then there is a common reference for ASEAN countries that is being followed also in Malaysia. This guidance or document is called ASEAN Common Technical Dossier Requirement, ACTD or ACTR. This is a picture or photo of the cover of this guidance, and it is available online. You can refer to it and you can find the most recent one. You can find information in detail about the documents. If you remember, we mentioned in our I think first or second lecture about the drug development, and we mentioned about development process stages, starting from synthesis, preclinical and clinical studies, and pharmaceutical development as well. And you compile all these studies reports in a common technical dossier. We call it CTD. In ASEAN, they call it ACTD, ASEAN CTD. In US, they have can be submitted electronically, and they call it ECTD. Okay, and to the FDA. So this is the compilation of reports of studies that has been performed in different stages of product development, including clinical, preclinical, and pharmaceutical development and manufacturing process development and validation. Okay, so in Malaysia, they follow the ASEAN CTD. Registration of drugs has one major objective, which is to ensure the quality, safety, and efficacy of medicinal products through the registration. Okay, so when you register, when you apply for registration as a company of your product, then you have to fulfill requirements related to quality of the product that you will produce, safety and efficacy. You have to provide the evidence. And once it is registered and not already in the database of the NPRA, then still they can follow up the product post-marketing through collection of some samples, quality control to ensure that, and analysis of these samples to ensure that they conform to the required specifications. There can be some inspection of the premises of the manufacturing facility, and they have also the authority to give license for manufacture for these premises. And still they follow the clinical effects of drug when it comes to safety and other issues post marketing. So the role of drug control authority, which is in Malaysia NPRA, is not only limited to the approval of sale of drugs, but it will also extend after marketing of the drugs. Okay. The control of drugs and cosmetics regulations that has been approved in 1984, regulation 7.1, is stating that no person shall manufacture, sell, supply, import, possess, or administer any product unless the product is a registered product, and this person holds the appropriate license required and issued under these regulations. Okay, so when it comes to manufacture, sale, supply, import, and possession of drugs, then the person must have a license to deal in these drugs, and the drugs the person deals in must be registered products. Okay, and even for facilities like hospitals or clinics that administer drug to patients, also these drugs must be registered, and this facility, whether clinic, hospital, or other healthcare facility, must have the appropriate license. Okay. So as we mentioned, the authority for drug registration in Malaysia is NPRA, National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency. Bahagian regulatory bahagian regulatory what in Malaysia? Okay. Pharmacy, bahagian regulatory pharmacy negara. Okay. So NPRA has different departments. Each of them is, or sections, each of them is performing certain rules related to ensuring quality, efficacy, and safety of pharmaceuticals. Okay. So NPRA was given the task of ensuring the quality, efficacy, and safety of pharmaceuticals through the registration and licensing scheme that they implement. And it is achieved, as you mentioned, through approval of registration before the drug is given approval, registered and given approval for sale. Scientific data related to the drug, data about quality control tests in laboratory, and manufacturing process. All the required data is evaluated by the NPRA section responsible for approval of drug registration. And as we mentioned, the rule doesn't stop by issuing license for sale, or what we call it approval of registration of the product, but extends also to monitor the product after being introduced in the market. So a system to monitoring products in the market was set up. Information on drugs to medical professions and consumers also made available through a drug information service. So if you go to the website of NPRA, you can find a list of registered products in Malaysia. You can find information for consumer about these products, as we mentioned in previous lectures. Okay. These sections under NPRA are mainly the Center of Regulatory Coordination and Strategic Planning, Center of Product Cosmetic Evaluation, and Center of Compliance and Quality Control. So from their names, you can guess their function. The Center of Regulatory Coordination and Strategic Planning is more for setting up policies, strategic planning, responsible also for licensing and certification of premises, competency and quality, uh, and regulatory coordination, ICT, information technology support, and then it has one-stop center where can you do all the procedures in one place. The one for product and cosmetic evaluation is responsible for evaluation of pre-market approval of pharmaceuticals, different classes of products in general, whether pharmaceuticals, complementary medicines, or veterinary products. Responsible for approval of cosmetic notification. Issues license also for import of drugs for use in clinical trials. We call it clinical trial import license. Clinical trial exemption also to manufacture drugs locally that has not been unregistered yet but will be used for clinical trials. Okay, so one is responsible for policy and strategic planning and inspection and licensing and responsible for licensing and certification. The other is responsible for approval of different products, either for sale or manufacture or import. And the Center of Compliance and Quality Control is the one responsible to follow up after marketing. So responsible for post-marketing activities, including compliance programs and doing inspections also to ensure that manufacturers are adhering to GMP, GCP, GLP, GDP, and BE requirements. So GMP, as we know, is good manufacturing practice. GCP is good clinical practice, though this is related to conduction of clinical trials. In Malaysia and many other countries, we have agencies that are they can they can be authorized by uh, pharmaceutical firms overseas if they want to do multinational study. Uh, so they will be authorized to oversee and to arrange for and oversee the conductance of or conduction of clinical trials to evaluate this drug in Malaysia. So also there will be inspection for these firms and to ensure that they adhere to good clinical practice guidelines when they run the clinical trials or oversee them. These centers usually or agencies, they don't have their own facility to conduct clinical trial. They are more like coordinator. They will contact the hospitals, the clinicians. They recruit them and they make agreements with them. They follow up. Approvals will be given. They follow up also official procedures to apply for uh, ethical approval and administrative approvals to conduct such studies. And then they are the one who pay also for these hospitals. The hospital is the one who will recruit patients and follow the guidelines of the clinical trial. They are the one who implement the clinical trial, and they submit the data and the reports at the end of the trial. So the firm job is just to ensure is to find the appropriate sites for conducting the clinical trials and same time to follow up the implementation of during doing the clinical trial, they ensure that clinicians and sites that have contracted with them are following the clinical trials protocols. There are no deviations, and they are the one who collect the data at the end from hospitals and so on and submit to the international firm. GLP is the good laboratory practice, and these are some instructions that ensure that laboratory work has the required quality, no manipulations, data are correct, accurate. It has so many issues related also to the documentation and relating to laboratory instruments validation, calibration, and so on. The end result is that we want to ensure good practice in the labs, same as the concept as GMP, which wants to ensure that there is good manufacturing practice in the manufacturing facilities. Okay. GTP, as we mentioned in a previous, we discussed in detail in previous lecture, that is good distribution practice. So no need to explain more today. The last one is BE. BE is bioequivalence, and bioequivalence studies are conducted in bioequivalence centers. So if in any country, including Malaysia, here around Malaysia, we have several bioequivalence centers in KL and in other states. So this bioequivalence center, the job is to conduct bioequivalence studies. They recruit volunteers. They administer the generic and comparator drugs, and they collect blood samples, do the pharmacokinetic study. They will analyze using uh, bioanalytical um, what do you call it, bioanalytical methods. They use it to determine the concentration of drugs in biological samples they collect from volunteers. They do the appropriate calculations, and they, at the end, write the reports, including all the data and including interpretation whether the comparator drug is bioequivalent to, whether the generic drug is bioequivalent to the comparator drug. And bioequivalence centers here, they are doing two types of work. They are doing clinical pharmacokinetic study, including volunteers. So this is on its own is considered a clinical trial. So they must adhere to the good clinical practice guidelines, GCP. And they have a lab for bioanalytical methods. So they also should adhere to the GLP. Usually they will have a clinical site and laboratory site. So bioequivalence centers can be audited, can be inspected by regulatory bodies, and they can visit and they check the documentation, check the logs of the instrument data, ensure that no data modification or manipulation, and they ensure that the way they recruit volunteers and handle them is according to GCP. So they will check every aspect of the daily operations of BE. Okay. They are also required for, they are responsible for QC and lab analysis. So they will do some collection of samples of different products registered in Malaysia, do quality control tests, perform quality control tests for them, and ensure that they are uh, conforming to the specifications. Okay. They also oversee pharmacovigilance and surveillance and complaints and adverse drug reaction reports. We will explain all this in details in the coming slides. So let's stop by some definitions. Okay. Um, as per this drug registration guidance document, they define drug as any substance, product, or article intended to be used or capable or purported or claimed to be capable of being used on humans or any animal, whether externally or internally for a medical purpose. So any substance or product that can be used for humans or animals for medicinal purpose. The product can be a drug in a dosage unit, or can be a substance that a drug to be used as an ingredient of a preparation for medicinal purpose. Okay. And then the product registration holder. The product registration holder is the applicant for product registration. Is the applicant for product registration. Okay. Um, there are several um, classes of products, medicinal products that can be whether medicinal or cosmetics can, for different purposes, can be registered. The classes of drugs including biologics, new chemical entities, generic products, natural and traditional products, health supplements, and veterinary drug products. Okay, so there are several guidelines about the registration of uh, these products. They state the registration requirements. Some of them are local, like in Malaysia here, the document we showed at the beginning of the lecture, the drug registration guidance document. There are guidelines for several categories of products issued by NPRA. There are directives issued by Drug Control Authority, DCA. Okay. Uh, there are also some regional guidelines. You have here in Southeast Asia, the ASEAN guidelines. ASEAN region, they have their own harmonized guidelines. So you can find the ASEAN guidelines for conducting stability studies, bioequivalence studies, analytical method validation, several guidelines detailing requirements for several studies that evaluate medicinal products. There are also guidelines on process validation, variation, okay, how to manage variation in product manufacture. And on the international level, you have guidelines issued by WHO, by International Conference on Harmonization, ICH, by European Medicines Agency, EMA, by FDA in America, US FDA. They have also their own guidelines. So which one you will follow depends on where will you market your drug or your product. So if you are intending to sell your product in Malaysia, then you need to register it in Malaysia. So you will follow whatever instructions or guidelines issued by Malaysia, Malaysian Drug Control Authority or NPRA. If you want to sell your product in China, then you have to register it in China. So then when you provide your file for registration, all the documents, all the studies should be conducted according to the guidelines followed in China. Same if you want to sell in USA, you have to register it in USA. So logically, when you conduct stability study, bioequivalence study, whatever, if you do validation for your manufacturing process, pharmaceutical development, all the aspects, you have to conduct according to the guidelines issued by FDA. So once you go and apply for registration in US, it will be accepted. Okay. So here in Malaysia, there are different requirements based on the product class or product category. So they classify products into that are used for medicinal purposes into new drug products. There is in this document, drug registration guidance. There is appendix number 3, giving details of registration requirements of new drug products. In every appendix, you will have definition, what is meant by this class or category, and after this, details of requirements. Okay. And then biologics, uh, appendix 4, generics, appendix 5, health supplements, appendix 6, natural products, appendix 7, veterinary products, they have regulatory regulations of veterinary products. So we mentioned also before in a previous lecture about a category of products that have a mixture of food ingredients and some active ingredients, and we call them food drug interface products. When it comes to the regulations on classification, whether to be classified as food or drug, and if as drug, then will be registered with NPRA. Then Appendix 1 is giving the details about this procedure, how to classify them, and what are the requirements for registration. Okay. Um, Some categories, no need to explain in details, like health supplements. We already have previous lectures that we discussed drug food interface, health supplements, natural products. So no need to explain about them, but we will explain mainly about the first two categories, new drug products and biologics. Okay. A new drug product, from its name, the abbreviations or acronym is MDP. It is from as the name states, it is a drug that is new, so has not been registered before. So the standard definition by NPRA, it is any pharmaceutical product that has not been previously registered in accordance with the provisions of the uh, Control of Drugs and Cosmetics Regulations 1984. Okay, so if not registered before 1984, then it is considered a new drug, uh, new drug product. And they classify it into two categories. The first is new chemical entity. From the name new chemical entity means a molecule that has not been used before, not registered before as a medicinal product. So the definition is it is active moiety, can be a radiopharmaceutical also, radiopharmaceutical substance that has not been registered in any pharmaceutical product. Whether it is single or combination product means a product that have one ingredient only or two ingredients or more, it will be considered as new chemical entity. Okay. The other category is hybrid, and this hybrid including um, maybe old molecules have been used before, but now in a new form. There is new thing about the use of them. This new thing may be that this registered chemical entity has new chemical form, probably a new salt. Okay, new dosage form. For example, before it was immediate release tablets, now formulated as sustained release tablets, so needs new evaluation, especially the clinical evaluation. New dosage strength, for example, or a change in dosing or posology. New route of administration with the same old molecule that has been registered for use for medicinal use before. Okay, a change in also indications, a new indication, new dosage recommendation, use in a new patient population. For example, before it was not licensed to be used in children. Now they want to apply for approval for the drug to be used in children, and they must also apply for new drug product, and they have to provide adequate data to give evidence regarding the safety and the efficacy of this drug in children, as an example. Okay. Um, Also, new combinations, combination of a registered chemical entity, a new chemical form, and registered chemical entity. So here you have they want to make combination of a drug that is registered already, but with a new chemical form, or registered with a registered chemical entity. Okay, so means that you have a combination probably of two drugs that are registered before, but one of them you want to change it to a new chemical form. So now you are falling under the first point, registered chemical entity in a new chemical form. So you need also to apply for registration as a new drug product for which its innovator has never been registered by DCA. So probably it is an old drug and used long time ago overseas, but has not been registered before in Malaysia. So still will be treated as new drug product. A second source product, replacement product, they are also considered as hybrid products. Okay. The second class, which is biologics, they have two definitions in the drug registration guidance document. The first among them is defining biologic or biological product as a product whose active substance is made by or derived from a living organism. This organism can be plant, human, animal, or microorganism, and may be produced by biotechnology methods and other cutting-edge technologies. Okay, this product imitates natural biological substances in our bodies, such as hormones, enzymes, or antibodies. So these are some of the classes of biologics, maybe hormones, enzymes, or antibodies derived from living organisms like microorganisms, animals, usually produced by biotechnology, not by chemical synthesis. The other definition is it is a protein. As we know, hormones, enzymes, antibodies are all protein molecules. So biopharmaceuticals or biologics or biological products, they are defined as a protein, including antibodies, or nucleic acid-based pharmaceuticals used for therapeutics, which is produced by means other than direct extraction from a native biological source. Okay, which is produced by other than direct extraction from a native non-engineered biological source. Can be produced engineered uh, by engineered microorganisms, which is called biotechnology. Okay, the different classes of biologics. Biologics include vaccines. Vaccines are considered biologics. As we know, vaccines are produced by the help of several microorganisms, may be produced from animals, may be produced by biotechnology. Blood products other than uh, cells. Okay, blood products not including cells. Uh, any therapeutic product derived from human blood or plasma and produced by manufacturing processes that pools multiple units. What is the meaning of pools multiple units? Means we don't we collect blood from several individuals, from several patients, for example, like what happened in during COVID. They collected blood from those who recovered from COVID because their blood will contain the antibodies. Then they separated plasma or the antibodies, and then they can use them for therapy. So this is called a biologic product. You can apply this for other molecules or other compounds, like for example, uh, fresh frozen plasma that is used for like it has a source of anticoagulants. It can be used to stop bleeding, so it is considered a blood product as well. Monoclonal antibodies used for therapeutic purposes. Recombinant proteins like insulin. Insulins nowadays are mostly produced by recombinant technology. Uh, and they are protein in nature. They are natural hormone. Other hormones, erythropoietins and other hematopoietic factors, cytokines like interferons, interleukins, colon stimulating factor, tumor necrosis factor, they are all considered as biologicals or biopharmaceuticals. Also, cell and gene therapy products, which contain nucleotides, they are considered as biological products or biopharmaceutical products. Okay, so if we want to register any of these, then you have to follow the appropriate appendix mentioned in the previous table. Okay, uh, biologics don't some molecules that can be derived from microorganisms are not considered biologics, like metabolites from microorganisms. Example, antibiotics and some hormones. As we know, we produce antibiotics by biotechnology, okay? But in general, they are not protein in nature. Some hormones also produced from microorganisms directly, they will not be considered biologicals. Macromolecules produced by chemical synthesis, like peptides, oligonucleotides that are produced by chemical synthesis, they are not considered biologics. Whole blood or cellular blood components are not considered as biologicals. You want to transfer blood, you take blood from one patient to move to and transfer to the other. This is not a biological. If they take the blood from several patients, pool it, and then produce, for example, platelets, separate them alone to be given to patients with low platelet count. If they separate alone other cells of the blood, like red blood cells, packed cells, to give to patients with anemia, then these fractions of blood are not considered, or these cellular fractions of blood are not considered as biologicals. Okay. Um, so now let's start with the application procedure. If you have, based on the previous slides that we discussed, we should know that what is meant by drug product, what are the regulations governing registration process, If we want to register a product, where should we go? What is the Drug Control Authority in Malaysia, which is NPRA? And then now we want to know the application procedure. What documentations you must compile, how you are going to submit your file. Once approved, then what will be issued by the Drug Control Authority, and what are the documents required for each category. Like if you have cosmetic, is it the same procedure as if you have other classes of pharmaceutical products like biologics, generics, and so on? If you want to register a new chemical entity, do you need the same amount of data as if you when you register a generic product? Of course, not the same. So let's see how is the application procedure in Malaysia. Number one, who is the one who can apply? So in Malaysia, the applicant is called a product registration holder, and I think we have came across this in previous lectures. So we said that it must be a Malaysian, a company registered in Malaysia. Can be international company, international firm, local firm, but must be registered with the Companies Commission of Malaysia, SSM. Okay, and their business scope should be related to health or pharmaceutical product. So, if the manufacturer or the owner of the brand or the trademark, the owner of the product is a Malaysian firm registered, and their business is pharmaceuticals, they can apply by themselves. But suppose that you are a company located in Vietnam or US, for example, and you want to register one of your products in Malaysia, and you don't have any office or company registered in Malaysia, then you have to give authorization for a Malaysian, for a locally incorporated company, a company registered in Malaysia, to apply on your behalf. Then this legal entity with permanent address in Malaysia is called product registration holder. So product registration holder can be the owner of the brand mark or can be an authorized legal entity or corporate. Okay. So as we mentioned, then in brief, product registration holder can be the product owner or have authorization from the product owner to apply for registration of the product. Okay. The name of this product registration holder should not reflect name of government agency, name of institute of higher education or research, name that reflects the quality of pharmaceutical products, like for example, in Malay, Amalan, Perkelangan Baye, okay, means good manufacturing practice. Cannot reflect a name of disease or name of an organ like heart, brain, kidney, etc. Okay, these are requirements by NPRA. So the process will be as shown in this diagram. The product registration holder or product owner, if he's in a Malaysian firm, will make a pre-submission of application, and then there should be GMP inspection by NPRA for his facility, manufacturing facility, and if he is GMP certified, then there will be a submission of uh, registration application, and it will be screened by NPRA section responsible for evaluation. Okay, there will be data evaluation, a meeting of the drug evaluation committee, and then they will take a decision. There will be meeting of the authority. They will refer to that meeting of drug evaluation committee and their decision or recommendation, and they will issue the final decision whether approval or rejection. So if it is rejected, the person in charge can appeal, the product registration holder can appeal, or they have to see the cause of rejection and then do the necessary changes and then apply again. If approved, then the drug will be licensed, the product will be given a license, will be registered, and then there is a post-registration process and activity. Post-registration activities. So we will discuss about some of these now. So how to submit when it comes to submission of registration application? Submission is electronic through Quest 3 Plus database on the NPRA website. So application of product registration submitted via Quest system, and this is the link. So they will submit all the uh, documents electronically, but there may be some big reports and documents that cannot be submitted by and cannot be submitted online. So then a hardbound file can be sent to NPRA. Okay, this is one thing. So Quest is this website is an acronym for quality, safety, and efficacy. It is an online registration system, and this online registration system used for submission of data can be done anytime. It's around the clock, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, working all the time. It is integrated and computerized registration system connecting several databases together. That submission here is electronic. It's a paperless submission using web-based application, can be accessed through the web. Means you just log into the web, you register on that website, and you can access it through the internet. See, so accessible via internet connectivity system, and enable secured online transactions such as registration, variations, re-registration, and other transactions. Okay, this is when it comes to the Quest website. Okay. So what kind of data should be submitted? There are main four parts of data that should be submitted. They are not necessary for all kinds of products. Some may require some parts only. Some may require some categories of products require submission of the data of the whole four types. Okay. So these types are uh, part one, which is administrative data and some product information. Part two is data to support product quality. Part three is data to support product safety. They are non-clinical data, non-clinical studies or preclinical studies data. Part four is about clinical studies data. Okay, so one is general information, and that's administrative data about the manufacturer and about the formula and the drug, and many data more like we will mention detail, but more data like those that will be given in the pamphlet or brochure of the drug product. Okay. Um, so we can have a break for 5 minutes, and then we will continue with the other part of the lecture. So part one of the data to be submitted about the product is about product particulars, usually pharmaceutical and clinical information. Um, Pharmaceutical means what dosage form, what strength, and so on. Clinical information, same like what you see in the product brochure, like indications, dosage, posology or recommended dose, side effects, drug interactions, and so on. These are the clinical information. The product formula means active ingredient and excipients should be given in this part. Particulars of packing, what kind of packing the drug is in, and a mock-up label for all the containers. Means I have to submit the label of the immediate container, the secondary container, okay, and so on. And any required supplementary documentation. For example, the applicant is or the product registration holder is a legal entity or corporate registered in Malaysia on behalf of another company overseas. Then they have to provide the letter of authorization. For example, the product registration holder may be a company here or somewhere else here in Malaysia, but doesn't have their own manufacturing facility, and they will produce the product in a manufacturing facility in Malaysia or somewhere else. Then they have to provide letter of appointment of contract manufacturer, okay, and acceptance of that firm also to manufacture this product. Okay, this is what all part one is about. Part two is about the quality of the product. So it will give description of the composition, active ingredient, and excipients in detail, and the data about the pharmaceutical development process that have been done, and evaluation and characterization of the product. Data in details about manufacturing process, all the manufacturing steps, machines will be used. Same as in manufacturing formula, okay, and processing details, including in-process controls and everything. They will provide in details data about the control of excipients, specifications of excipients and quality control tests to be conducted to ensure they comply to specifications. The same for drug substance, for finished products, for in-process controls. They provide data about the stability study that has been conducted on the product in its final packaging, and the results and estimation of shelf life. If the bioequivalence study is required for this kind of product, means it is for systemic effect, then they have to provide the data of the bioequivalence study that has been conducted. Data about container closure system used for this product, and drug substance. General information about drug substance, its stability, manufacture, characterization, and control. So when it comes to stability and manufacture, they don't need to generate the data themselves, maybe derived from the supplier or manufacturer of this drug substance. Characterization can be from pharmacopoeias. Control tests, then the specifications and how to test them in the lab. All the analytical methods must be validated, and also among the data submitted is analytical method validation. So bioequivalence study report actually have a section about the bioanalytical method validation. But then for the company that they conducted stability study, they used analytical methods. In quality control tests, they use analytical methods. For the drug substance control, they use analytical methods. They have also to submit data about these analytical methods used for all these stages, about the validation of these methods. Okay, so analytical method validation data must be also submitted. We discussed in the first or the second lecture about clinical and non-clinical studies, so no need to talk in detail about part 3 and 4. But as we mentioned, part 3 is about the preclinical studies data, and part 4 is about clinical studies, the clinical phase studies data. Okay. This is a table from the drug registration guidance document stating the requirements for full evaluation. They have two types actually of evaluation: full evaluation and abridged evaluation. So some products like health supplements, some generic, some categories of generics and health supplements and natural products, they may not need much data for evaluation, so they can go through another pathway called abridged evaluation. But these products here require full evaluation, and these are the kind of data that should be submitted. If a new drug product, whether new chemical entity or hybrid, then all parts must be submitted. Okay, part 1, 2, 3, and 4. So means information about the administrative and general information, quality control information, and then or quality information, and then preclinical and clinical data. Hybrid needs also the 4 parts, but the extent of data or the amount of data required in part 3 and 4 maybe not as much as those for new chemical entities. And the details in appendix 3. For biologics, all the 4 parts are required. For generics, no need to submit that preclinical and clinical data, because already there is another similar product has been registered before. The preclinical and clinical data about it are known already. What you need to submit is data about the product information and administrative and general information, and you need to submit the pharmaceutical information about pharmaceutical development, evaluation of the product when it comes to stability, bioequivalence, quality control of the product, the details of manufacturing process as well. Okay, These are for the generics, whether they are scheduled poisons or non-scheduled poisons, both of them. But there is another category of generics that you may not need to through full evaluation. We'll mention in the coming slides. Abridged evaluation is enough, especially those for topical application. Okay. Health supplements depends on whether they have claims about disease risk reduction. Then you need so many data. You need including preclinical and clinical data. All are required. But if you don't, if the product registration holder didn't make any claim about disease risk reduction, then they will go through abridged evaluation. Same for natural products. If there is claim about therapeutic effects, then all the parts are required. But if no claims, then abridged evaluation, not full evaluation. Okay. So here abridged evaluation is for generics that are non-scheduled poison and intended for low topical application. These are the categories: antiseptic, skin disinfectants, locally acting lozenges, pastilles, topical analgesics, counter irritants, topical nasal decongestants, emollients, demulcent, skin protectants, keratolytics, anti-dandruff, oral care, anti-acne, medicated plasters, patch, pad, and at the end the topical antibacterials. They are all they can all be can follow abridged evaluation if they as such for topical ad, administration, and they are non-scheduled poisons. For health supplements, as we said, if they have only general or nutritional claims, nothing about no specific therapeutic claims or about disease reduction, risk reduction, functional claims, medium also, then they will follow abridged evaluation. Natural products that make health claims, that didn't make health claims as well. If they didn't make health claims, then abridged evaluation is required, not full evaluation. So what is the difference between abridged and full evaluation? As we mentioned in abridged evaluation, so for them, you can say they will not require so many parts. And then when it comes to part 2, the pharmaceutical one, it doesn't include all the things that we mentioned about the details in part 2. It will include only control of finished product uh, in addition to product stability. So it doesn't contain bioequivalence part, it doesn't contain manufacturing process in details, it doesn't contain details about quality control of substances, active ingredients, and what else, and in-process controls and these things. They only require details about the control of finished product only. Okay. In addition to the stability study conducted to estimate the shelf life. This is the difference between abridged and full evaluation. If the drug is screened, the application is screened, and the drug registration is approved, so the product registration approval notification will be sent by the authority, which is NPRA, to the product registration holder. So they will notify them that this drug has been registered. Okay, this is the process of informing the product registration holder about the result of application. So once approved for registration, then it will be listed on the website of NPRA in a list called Approved Product Registration List. Okay, so anybody that wants to know whether this product is registered in Malaysia or not, they can refer to this list. If they find the name of the product, then it is registered in Malaysia. The validity of registration is usually 5 years. This is different from country to another. Like in Egypt, for example, it is 10 years. Then you need to renew the registration after 10 years of the first registration, and so on. Every 10 years you renew. Here in Malaysia, valid only for 5 years. Or such period as specified in the authority database, unless the registration is suspended or cancelled by the authority. So normally the registration here in Malaysia is 5 years, and then you can or as specified. Maybe they have some requirements, whatever, they didn't give the 5 years period. You can find it in the list of approved product registration on NPRA website, the registration validity, what time it will end. Okay, and this is not final, because if the manufacturer breached the requirements for production, they produce product that is under quality, and so on, any problems happen with the product, the registration may be suspended or even cancelled by the NPRA. So 5 years is not something that cannot be changed. Okay. After registration, the applicant shall fulfill all commitments and conditions imposed with approval of the product registration and shall be responsible for the maintenance of the product in terms of quality, safety, and efficacy throughout the validity period of registration. So what are these commitments? We will mention also in the coming slides. Among them is adherence to GMP, they should implement um, all the protocols, the instructions in the file as they are written. Product should be with the required quality. They should follow the safety and efficacy of, there must be a pharmacovigilance system and so on. We'll explain later on. Okay. Uh, so, and then through this pharmacovigilance system, the applicant shall notify the authority of any change, if of any changes to the product's efficacy, quality, and safety. If anything also discovered, like we mentioned before when we discussed about stability, that you have also retained samples, you follow the quality of the batches. Okay, if there is any problem, then you can inform the authority. You should inform the authority, notify them, and arrange for recall if required. Okay. So together with the approval of registration, there will be a registration number for each product. So it is like the code of this product, can be used to identify it. So upon product registration approval, product registration number will be assigned to the registered product via the Quest system. Okay. So this number is generated by Quest system. We call it MAL number because it starts with MAL. MAL refers to Malaysia. So then the belt of structure of this number is as you see. It usually starts with MAL indicating Malaysia, then 2 digits for the year of registration, 2 digits for the month of registration, 4 digits for the serial number of the product, 1 digit for the category of the registered product, the categories we mentioned, and 2 digits for administrative code. Yeah, we discussed this before during the labeling section, practical, if you remember. So just for a review or repetition, MAL Malaysia, year and month. So the year and month of registration by an authority, for example, 1107 means it is registered in 2011 in the month of 7th month of the year means July 2011. Then a serial number for registered product will be given by Quest. Category registered product, whether it is veterinary use, it is what do you call it? It is general sales product or poison A, poison B, and so on. And then you have reference to the administrative code, like the one we mentioned before, like no GST, whatever. So you have here A means a scheduled poison, B natural product with therapeutic claim, X non-scheduled non-scheduled poison is OTC, right? Then health supplement, natural homeopathic medicine, H for veterinary products. And then the administrative code here, P means contract manufacturer. It is not produced in the company's facility, but in another facility. E is for export only. Uh, R is packed or repacked, uh, means has been produced in another uh, facility of another company, and then the product registration holder just repacked the product. They receive bulk tablets, for example, and then they pack them. Okay. Uh, Second source, which we mentioned before, means the product is from a second source or approved second manufacturer. Okay, different from the first approved one. Products Z is products that doesn't have GST. It's zero GST. Okay, or zero rated under the GST Act. No GST imposed on them. Now we talk a little bit about cosmetic drugs in Malaysia and the registration process. So when it comes to cosmetic drugs, uh, the requirements are comes to the packaging and which data it should contain. It should have the following particulars shall appear on the outer packaging of cosmetic product: the name of cosmetic product and its function, instructions on the use, directions for use of cosmetic product, full ingredient listing, including active and inactive ingredients, must be declared in descending order of weight at the time they are added. So the major components first, and then those that less in the composition later on. For perfume and aromatic compositions, no need to mention details about them. So just write there is a perfume or fragrance or aroma of flower. So no need to mention what kind of perfume it is. Ingredients in concentration of less than 1% may be listed in any order after these concentrations more than. Okay. Coloring agent may be listed in any order after other ingredients in accordance with the color or denomination adopted in Annex 4 of the cosmetic registration. That details about give details about cosmetic registration. It should also include details about country of manufacture, the name and address of cosmetics notification holder. Okay. So we mentioned in medicinal products about or drug products that we call the applicant as product registration holder (PRH), because for different categories of drug products they need pre-registration before they can sell the product. They need to apply for registration. Only if registration is approved, then they can sell. But for cosmetic drugs, the registration is based on notification. You just send notification to the database. In a short time, they review and approve. Okay. So we call the applicant here as cosmetic notification holder. Also, the contents given by weight or volume in metric or both metric and imperial system, the batch number, the manufacturing or expiry date of the product in clear terms in month and year, and special precautions to be observed and used, especially those listed in the column: conditions of use and warnings, which must be printed on the label in the annexes. Okay, so you can find details about these special precautions written and which condition in the annex 4. Okay. Okay, so what are the cosmetic regulations in Malaysia? They are regulated under the control of cosmetic regulations, we refer to as CDCR, that was approved in 1994. And this is also under the Sale of Drugs Act, and that approved in 1952. The regulations telling that no person shall manufacture, sell, supply, import, or possess any cosmetics unless the cosmetic is, we replace here the word registered with notified, unless the cosmetic is notified cosmetic. Okay. So there are guidelines for the control of cosmetics. Detailing cosmetic notification procedure and the regulatory requirements for cosmetic notification. This regulatory indicating that cosmetic notification holder means the applicant, the one who applies for registration or for permit to sell the cosmetic product, he must ensure compliance to the following requirements prior to notification submission. Number one, all the requirements regarding to cosmetic ingredients, and there are ingredients that cannot be used, there are ingredients that can be used but with certain limits. Okay, so he must abide by this list. You can find also in the guidance document. Safety requirements for production, uh, and then ingredients that can allow to be added and ingredients not allowed. Labeling requirements, how the label of the cosmetic should be. What claims he can make for the cosmetic product, cosmetic claims. Uh, what are the restrictions on cosmetic advertisements that he must avoid? Good manufacturing practice. It is required that the manufacturer of cosmetics is following the good manufacturing practice guidelines, and he is GMP certified as well. And they should follow the product information file, so on, and packaging. Uh, he also should have a program for product recall. They have also program for post-marketing surveillance, vigilance, pharmacovigilance, and if any problems arise in the product, they should notify and they should take the actions for product recall. They should have a program dealing with product complaints as well. And they should report adverse effects or adverse events that occur of the cosmetic to the control authority. Okay, so to the NPRA. So if they want to apply, what is the notification procedure? Uh, the company that will apply or place the cosmetic product in the market is referred to as cosmetic notification holder. Same thing also it is as in medication and as in drug products. CNH is a locally incorporated company or legal entity in the field of cosmetics with permanent address in Malaysia and registered with Companies Commission of Malaysia. Same as when we talked about the product registration holder. They should notify the Department of Pharmaceutical Services, Director of Pharmaceutical Services, prior to manufacture, selling, supply, import, or possession of any cosmetic. So before you do anything, you start to manufacture, or you can do only the development part, development, and you manufacture, uh, but you notify, and then you can do the pharmaceutical development part. But then actually some of them they need CTD first. You have to provide CTD to continue manufacture of some batches and then submit for other studies. So they should notify the Director of Pharmaceutical Services prior to manufacture, sell, supply, import, or possess of any cosmetic. The submission for notification shall be done online through NPRA Quest system. So same also through Quest system they can apply for notification regarding cosmetic. Okay, the process is as you see in this diagram, the workflow of the notification process. They will log into Quest. Uh, the cosmetic notification holder is the one who will log in. They must be registered first with Quest database, and then they will complete the notification form and they deposit the required payment, and then the NPRA will do some review the uploaded data. They check whether they comply to the requirements or not. If comply, then they will and print it. But if they don't comply, they will register. So once notification note is generated, then the manufacturer can start to import this cosmetic, or they can start to market the cosmetic. Okay. Notification procedure required information during this procedure is particulars of cosmetic details about this applicant, details about person or appointed person to do the application, information about the the ocean cover. Details about the manufacturer. Details about it is an imported one who is the one who will import this cosmetic, or the one who will assemble it. Probably there is packaging or something. The details about all the ingredients in the formulation and their amount, the label, mock label, and letter of authorization from product owner to CNH. If same thing as I mentioned, the product owner is overseas, somebody is applying here in Malaysia on their behalf, then there should be an authorization letter. And also, if applicable, if they have contract with another company to produce for them, we call it contract appointment. So appointment letter that we appoint this company, and then the acceptance of this company. Okay, or the contract we made together. And then the company have the notification is have certain responsibilities. Number one is they have to responsible for number one that say following or adhering to the regulations and guidelines for cosmetic products in Malaysia. Number two, there should be a product information file available and accessible. Okay, and then he's responsible, as we mentioned, to if there are any problems arise, to arrange for the affected cosmetic arrange for that. He should have a pharmacovigilance system, so any reaction before department, they should be forwarded to the, the authority to be notified about the cosmetic. Okay. Changes to notified product particulars is particular. The manufacturing formula, some of the ingredients, whatever, they have to submit to the regulatory authority. And they have to be responsible that all the information given about the product are okay. So if notification note is generated, usually there is a notification number unique for the product is given. So this is similar to the MAL number for medicinal products, but here registration is based on notification, so they start the number with not. Not is abbreviation for notification. And then same like for medicinal products will be followed by year and month of notification, year and month, and then serial number for the product and then the letter. Okay. Notification of cosmetic products here is not valid for 5 years as for medication, but as for registration of drug products, but it is valid only for 2 years. And the notification holder should renew it 1 month before the expiry of the notification. Okay, and the cosmetic notification holder also responsible to ensure the maintenance of a valid notification number for products in the market. So he should abide by the rules 1 month before expiry of the notification. He should apply for renewal. Okay, there are also so regarding this notification number, does it change upon renewal? Usually no. If 1 month before expiry, at least he applied for renewal of notification, then the same number will if notification then another notification and will give a new notification number. So if a product that is not renewed within the given timeline, 1 month before. And for those products who has gone or that has undergone changes requiring new notification. There are changes in the formula, whatever they need to uh, and this is a new notification process. Then we get a new okay. So will NPRA issue a notification notice generation through but usually but can be issued upon request. For example, they want to export this one, okay, upon request to another country, and this country requires certificate of trade name, then they can request from NPRA, and then NPRA will issue for them the certificate of serves as a document. It states that the product is okay. So it is necessary, but even upon and of course there will be fees involved. Okay. So uh, do we need notification for all the cosmetics that they will be manufactured or imported? No. There are some exemptions where notification is not required. So these these are the for one. Uh, this is markets. What do you call it? Market sampling, or for this product is just for sampling or in-house evaluation. Before the commercial manufacturer who may produce samples and we want to test them, we want some volunteers to try them and give their feedback about the quality of it and how they feel about it. Okay, and those for export only, FEO for export only. They will not be sold in Malaysia. There's no need for notification. Where he will sell in Vietnam, Cambodia, and China, whatever, then he will follow the regulations in this country that they will export their product to. They will notify them, or they will notify their, or if based on registration, they have to register their product there. If the cosmetic also is imported from overseas for market sampling, in-house evaluation, so whether manufactured in Malaysia or imported for sampling in-house evaluation uh, for notification. If they will import or export to another country, you are serving like if it is in transit, okay, with stay in Malaysia, another country, then to be sold or supplied in free trade zone or international carriage entering or leaving Malaysia, also same or not. Okay. Uh, to get a notification exemption, we need written approval by the Director of Pharmaceutical Services, DPS, and company should maintain proper records and documents and these records should be available. Okay. The CNH should have, as we mentioned, pharmacovigilance service. And there are activities done by NPRA. Following the effects, safety, and ensuring the quality. Okay, so surveillance is about quality, and then pharmacovigilance is about okay, post-market control section and out. They ensure that collect samples and test them and ensure that they conform to specifications. They monitor also the label compliance. We can audit the premises of manufacturer and their adherence to also handling of product complaints if there are complaints like cleaning or healthcare professionals about the quality. They do the they monitor adverse reaction, audit the product by PIF, risk communication. We share information to that. There is alert system common to be used among Muslim countries. So if there are any reports of issues with quality or safety of then it will be shared through okay. Uh, there are responsibilities include report any high incidences of regardless of the source. Okay. Uh, so usually this is a healthcare professionals can be sent to the company, can be sent directly to the pharmacovigilance body in the if the report came to manufacturer or about this report. And they should investigate all complaints related to the quality cosmetic. And will be the CNH is about them. They receive the information about these problems, and he's responsible to determine the appropriate corrective and preventive action. Okay. Last thing we'll discuss in today's lecture is about the post-marketing activities. Post-marketing activities for drug. So post-marketing activities include pharmacovigilance, post-market surveillance, punitive action by the authorities, and verification of product quality issues. These are the four areas of post-marketing activities that should be done. So as we mentioned, that the rule of NPRA doesn't stop by approval of registration, but they have to follow the products in the market to ensure their quality and safety as well, right? So pharmacovigilance, as we mentioned, this is the adverse drug reaction monitoring program. So the product registration holder, same as what we mentioned in cosmetic products by the CNH. So PRH or any person who possesses any registered product shall inform immediately the Director of Pharmaceutical Services of any adverse drug reactions arising from the use of this. All PRH must ensure that the company has a pharmacovigilance. So actually, this is, as I mentioned in the previous lecture, one of the jobs that can be also pharmacists, specialists in pharmaceutical companies, and your job will be about establishing and maintenance of pharmacovigilance system in the within the company. Okay. So if any reports received, they will be evaluated and appropriate action should be taken when necessary. These actions including informing the authority. You can see in many products there will be a black box warning. There are certain precautions added, certain then the other activity is the post-market surveillance, and this is, as we mentioned, is about ensuring the quality of the product. So it includes registered products, testing them, and ensuring that they comply with the official or commercial standards or specifications agreed by the manufacturer. So upon registration, the manufacturer submit a file including a lot of documents, including specifications, um, manufacturing instructions, quality done, and their limits, and so on, their acceptance ranges. So, and they are also required to retain samples and follow certain batches, as we mentioned in our previous lecture. And if any quality problems arise, they have to inform and take the appropriate action, including recall. So the NPRA will not leave also this activity 100% for manufacturers. They have to verify by themselves. So the NPRA also will collect some samples and they will test them to ensure compliance with the standards. Okay. Also, they will check all the pharmaceutical issues when it comes to labels, packaging inserts, when it comes to the information given about the products. They also apply to the requirements. And then PRH should notify NPRA when there are product problems, and the PRH should investigate it and take the corrective action necessary. When there is actual or potential risk to the product users, recalls may be done voluntarily by the PRH or as directed by DPS. Okay. Punitive action then, if there are any incursion, any breaches of the requirements, then the NPRA discovers that there is rated products produced by the PRH, then they must be punished. So this including registration cancellation. They can even revoke any other products even for a certain period of time in case of adulterated products. Okay, so they have authority to take action if there is anything wrong with the production and distribution of medicinal or drug products. If they discovered any problem also, NPRA may notify other regulatory authorities or stakeholders relating to the recall and or other regulatory action of a defective medicinal product in order to protect public health. So there may be some communication, sharing of information with other regulatory authorities in surrounding countries, in a country that this product is exported to, for example, with other regulatory bodies inside the country. They may inform, for example, in the recall program also, they will be, you can refer in several countries, most countries on the Drug Control Authority website, always they publish any instructions regarding product recalls. They will mention the circular, that there is a circular calling for a recall of this product with this batch number, okay, and they give the details, so it will be shared. Okay, up to here we finished our lecture about registration of products in Malaysia. Any question? Any questions so far?